Here I am in St. Mullins in County Carlow, and if we look around you see that there is a village pump here because I want to show you how you can map these village pumps. I think we'll all agree that we all love them because they're such a symbol of the rural history of Ireland, and not just Ireland, of course, other places as well, because water is a vital necessity. There was actually a survey of village pumps in County Carlow last year, as far as I'm aware. I wrote to the heritage officer in Carlow asking him how far they had come. I haven't received an answer yet. It's been about 6 weeks or so, but maybe if you keep an eye out on the Carlow County Council website you might find information there. I wasn't able to when I looked the last time, but they have been surveyed in County Carlow. I don't know if they got all of them, but of course there are lots more counties, and just because they surveyed them doesn't mean the data is going to end up on OpenStreetMap. But if you want to map some of these to record where they are and what they look like, this video will explain that to you. So let's get cracking. A little bit of terminology first. Not that I'm an expert on this, but there is a very good website for British village pumps and explains everything really well. I'll put a link in the description. The more common type is the one that you saw in St. Mullins, which is actually a pump, where people have to pump to get the water, which looks a bit like this one as well. These are all examples from Boris in County Carlow as well. So this one is your typical village pump. This one is broken, so it's not the best example. But you have this column and you have the spout, and then you would have a handle, which this one doesn't have. But you also get water wells, because this is the tag on OpenStreetMap is actually water well, it's not village pump. And that's these ones, and these are not pumps. The water is pressurized and there should be a tap on it, which I think is also missing in this one. And they're called water pillars. But I would suggest to map both types, the water pillars and the actual pumps. And thanks to a recent post by Remnants of Our Past on Instagram, I learned that the other one, the type that is an actual pump, they are called, here's another example from Boris, they are called cowtail pump because of the shape of the handle. And they usually have a little top as well. I think this one is missing, and it usually has a pointy hat on in some shape or form. So let's have a look at the tagging scheme. The main key is man-made water well, but this could be any well, as you can see in the picture here, which is not very common. And maybe you want to map these, that's fine too, but I think I want to focus more on the cast iron ones. So this is the main tag you have to use for both types, the water pillar and the actual village pump. It's commonly known as a village pump. And then there are a couple of other tags that you can use, a name and operator. I don't know, that's probably not very important because most of them are not even functional anymore. So it doesn't really matter that much what the name is and what the operator is. Drinking water, if you know it's drinking water and it's still working, you can add that. But I've never seen one that actually had a sign on it saying no drinking water or drinking water. So I could never decide which one it is, so I've never mapped that. Reference number is rare, I would say, unless it is on the National Inventory of Architectural Heritage, which some of them are, depending on the county, of course. And then you would use the ref:/IE:/NIAH. And maybe once the Carlow survey is done, maybe they'll give them reference numbers as well. We'll have to come up with the key for that, and you could use that reference number then. What's also very commonly used is the type of pump, and that is actually in the ID editor. It's in the preset for mapping these village pumps or the water wells. I'll show you that in a second. Whether it's powered, which is like an engine, manual or no. No would be the really old-fashioned one that you see in the info box here. It always reminds me of the fairy tale of the Frog King. And that would be pump equals no, because there's no pump, you have to crank it up yourself. And manual would be the cowtail pump, like here. And powered would be this is also a cranked one. I don't think there are any examples here, powered, but you do get ones where I presume you have to press a button or something. And then What I would also recommend using is the handle key, whether the handle is a lever or a wheel. In Freshford, for example, in County Kilkenny, there is a water pillar, at least one, but there's also on the village green a village pump that has a wheel mechanism or a wheel handle. But you do sometimes also get wheels like this one here. I don't know how common that is in Ireland. I wouldn't think it is very common. But you have the old-fashioned like Frog King water well, I want to call it. But instead of a crank, you have a wheel. I'm not sure I have a picture of the Freshford one with the wheel. I might add that in post-edit. What I would also like to map, if you can find it out, in the St. Mullins example, there was a manufacturer mark or a maker's mark on the pump. I just couldn't read it. But sometimes you can read it. And I think it's very interesting to map that, to record who the maker of that pump was, because it's often a local foundry, like the ones in Freshford in Kilkenny. As far as I remember, they were made in Kilkenny city. And it's nice to record these foundries in this way. So you would use the key manufacturer and then just type in the name, whatever you can read. And if they're a well-known one, like for example, the post that I mentioned earlier by Remnants of Our Past had a maker's mark that said T&T, which is very likely Tongue and Taggart, which was a foundry in Dublin. And they made all kinds of things, not just village pumps. They made sewer vents. If you want to watch a video about that, I'll put the link up in the corner. And they also made manhole covers and all kinds of cast iron things. Or Shannon Foundry Limerick, I'm sure they also made village pumps. But they also made sewer vents and manhole covers or drain covers. And if you walk around with your eyes open and glued to the ground, you will see a lot of these examples: Tongue and Taggart, Shannon Foundry Limerick, and Drogheda Iron Works. They might have done all of these things as well. And some of these, to cut a long story short, also I have created Wikidata entries, so you could also add the key manufacturer : Wikidata. And I don't know if some of them have Wikipedia articles yet, but that would be a nice thing to do, to see how the distribution is of the manufacturers in a county. And then, of course, as usual, you can add Wikimedia links if you have taken a picture of that pump. It is also very likely that, or in some cases, likely that you will find pictures on Wikimedia already from the Geograph project, where they imported a lot of these photographs from geograph.co.uk, because it's just a very popular subject to photograph, and you might be lucky to find them on Wikimedia. And if not, take the picture yourself and upload it there, and then you can link it. And if there's Mapillary or any other street level imagery available, you can also link that, of course. Oh, and the color. You can also add the color. Oftentimes the village pumps are painted in either in the county colours or in the parish colours, which would correspond to the GAA colours. So I think that would be interesting to map as well. So these are some of the keys you can use. A lot of keys. You can go into a lot of detail with these, which I think can be fun. That depends on how much you like village pumps. And I often, when I see them and when I'm not in a car, sometimes I've mapped them just driving by, but when I'm cycling or when I'm walking, I usually try the handle if it's still working. Sometimes they have it welded, locked. I think there was a pump status locked, so you can't even use it. It's just decoration, and it's not even broken. It's painted and everything, but they've welded it locked, so you can't use it anymore. But if the handle is still movable, I would recommend you try it and pump a couple of times and hope that there's water coming. I've often haven't tried like hundreds of them, but like a handful or two. I've pumped and nothing happened. I don't think there was ever one, or maybe one or two, where water came and then, it's a functional pump. A lot of times there was no water, but maybe I just didn't pump long enough and I wasn't patient enough. I remember one example that I tried in Thomastown, which is a bit outside Thomastown, and no water came, but there was someone in their front garden nearby, and I asked them and they said, yeah, it's still working. So that might also be useful. If you don't want to waste water, if there's someone nearby, you can ask if it's still working. So a lot of keys that you can use, but I would say you have to use the man-made water well, and maybe the handle style as well. Up to you, of course. So let's go and map the one in St. Mullins. I will use the ID editor. When I'm out and about, I won't wait until I'm home again and use the ID editor. I'll use Osmond or Everydoor, one of those two apps, to map them, especially when I'm just driving by or being driven by in the car, because obviously I don't drive and you can't map while you're driving. So when you're a passenger and you spot these out in the country, it would be nice to map them as close as possible to their actual location. So here is the junction in St. Mullins that I was standing at. So I was standing roughly there. I'll zoom in a bit so you can read it easier. And I'll also adjust the offset here, because you can see this is the wall that goes behind the pump and also the public bookcase, which I did a video about recently, a short one, if you want to watch that, so you can map these as well. On the right hand side in the menu, there's one that is background settings. It's these 3 layers. Click on that and you might have to scroll down. This is where you choose your background. Carlow is fairly well covered in the good newish Bing Maps aerial imagery. Esri World is more up to date, but it's blurrier. I don't really like using it. Esri is a bit clearer if you're used to it, but it's years and years old, so it's not much use in a lot of cases. So I'm going back to Bing, and then you scroll down here and you can play around with brightness, contrast, and so on. I usually don't, but here's the imagery offset, and you have to try to move the background picture to match the things that are already mapped. So you just go into this gray square and hold your left mouse button or mouse key and just drag it until it roughly matches what's already mapped. You can go by the roads as well and the junctions and so on and buildings, hoping that everybody used the same imagery offset who mapped before you. And actually we have to adjust this isn't all grass, because it's not grass where the pump is. So I'm just going to do this quickly. And the pump is this blob here, which you can't see. I can turn this off. So you just choose the point there at the top and set it where you think it was. And this has no tags now, it's just a point, and we can't leave it like that. If we try to save that, it will complain. Point has no tags. So we have to cancel this and add some tags. What you can do, you can just type in water well, and you see the symbol there. That's your typical village pump, but it doesn't automatically give you all the tags for the village pump just because it has the symbol. So the key is man-made and the value is water well, and then we can add others. So there's no reference code that I know of. I haven't checked on the National Index of Architectural Heritage. I don't know about the operator. I don't know if it's drinkable. The pump is manual hand pump, so we can choose that. Allowed access is public. The color, if you remember, is green. And let's say, what else can we do? Handle, lever, pump status. Let's say we're going to go for that. Pump status, okay. I tried it, there was no water, but maybe I just didn't wait long enough. What else did I say? You should use the Wikimedia. I'm just gonna see if I have it. Village pump. I'm just gonna say Mullins and hope it'll find it, because I don't remember. St. Mullins. Sometimes I just forget taking a picture. That is unacceptable. I'll just have to go through all my uploads. I could go back a while. So there's one in Goresbridge, and I took 2 pictures of that one. It seems that I didn't take a picture of the pump. Well, that is That is just not okay. Let's hope I have a pillory picture. There's St. Mullins. You used to be able to go into, maybe they've fixed that now, you used to be able to go into the layers here, which you still can, and then click on an image, and you could get the link from here, but they've recently, or they've changed that. So at the moment, it doesn't work anymore, but it's due to be fixed with the next ID editor update. So whenever you watch this, just try if it maybe works. So this picture has it, there's me, and I'm just gonna use this one by going onto the 3 dots here on the right. And under advanced, you will find the image key, and you copy it by just clicking on it. And in your ID editor, you have to highlight the pump again, of course, in case you haven't anymore. Type in mapillary and paste that number. It's not in the tagging scheme, but I would just like to do is just add water well pump to differentiate it from the water pillars, for example. I think it's a bit strange that they go from man-made water well, and some of the sub tags start with pump, but nowhere is it defined as water well equals pump. So this is just what I'm suggesting that you can do, just to define it as an actual pump, because a well doesn't necessarily have to be a pump. It could be one of those Frog King ones, or a water pillar which has pressurized water, like a fire hydrant, I presume. I'm not quite sure how fire hydrants work. But I think that's all you can do. You don't have to use all the tags, of course, but the more tags you use, the better the record, of course, and the more useful the data set. And then, of course, you have to save it. Added details to pump. Sources, survey, street level imagery, I suppose. And upload that. And after a while it should show a little symbol here, but while we wait, we'll just run an overpass query for all the water wells in County Carlow. Wizard man-made equals water underscore well in County Carlow. This should work. So there are 13. And a lot of them are mapped by myself. So there are a lot in Boris. Some are the regular village pump type, and some are the water pillar type. And Grignamana has 2. Well, technically that's not Grignamana, that's Tinnahinch. Because also Grignamana is in County Kilkenny and Tinnahinch is in County Carlow. I can't remember this one. Maybe that's in someone's front garden. But I remember this one. This is a water pillar, and I have added that yesterday as well. And some of them should have images. Yeah, this one does. And you can add the survey date, of course, as well, using survey : date, and then the date format is year, month, day, with hyphens in between. Most of these, well, let's say half of them, have Wikimedia links. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. So let's refresh this here and see if it's rendered. No. I'm not actually sure if they are rendered. It's there though. But there should be on the humanitarian one. Or not. Maybe it's only rendered if it's drinking water. Well, I don't know. Maybe they're not shown, but they are in the system now. And that's the main thing. You know, they're not as essential as bus stops on the map when you're driving around or trying to catch a bus. If you're thirsty, just go to the pub and ask them for a pint of water. That might be healthier than the pump anyway, especially when it's not working, the pump. So I hope that has inspired you to map a couple of them. Be nice to see more mapped in Ireland. I will just run one for the Republic of Ireland to show you how many there are. As usual, Kilkenny has most of them, but you see there are quite a few, 380-ish, because some are mapped as polygons for some reason. It doesn't mean that they're all village pumps, you know, some of them might just be the Frog King type, and some might also be Holy Wells. That's a bit weird, that tagging. Operator Climacow Holy Well. That's not how I would have mapped it. But you might have some overlap there between Holy Wells and village pumps. And some do have names. Anyway. Sinne will. Thank you very much for watching. Agus lang go fóill.